She thought she had the whole church on her side. She thought a sob story and 6 gossiping friends could break a single mom and 2 grieving daughters. She was wrong. Tonight you'll meet 4 people who picked the wrong family to push around. A mother-in-law who weaponized her congregation. A husband who slept with another man's wife. A brother who proposed at his sibling's wedding. And a deadbeat boyfriend who emptied a savings account and bought himself a new life. Each of them thought they had won. Each of them got dismantled, calmly, by someone who refused to scream and refused to forget. Welcome to Ruthless Retribution. If you love stories like this, hit that subscribe button. It's the easiest way to keep us bringing you more. These aren't drunk revenge stories. There's no shouting, no cops, no smashed windshields. The people in tonight's stories did something colder. They waited. They documented. They let the bad guy keep walking around thinking he had gotten away with it. And then, when the moment was right, they pulled one thread and the whole life fell apart. That's the channel. Calculated, decisive, long game payback. Here's why these stories matter. Most of us, when somebody hurts us, we react. We yell, we block, we vent on social media. And the person who wronged us moves on because nobody held them accountable. The narrators tonight refused to give that gift. They sat with the anger. They turned it into a plan. And every single one of their targets ended up worse off than the day they started. Stay with me. The first one is a quiet woman in her 40s who let her ex-mother-in-law set the trap and then walked her right into it. Our first storyteller is 46. Her 2 daughters are 17 and 15. Her ex-husband died in an accident the year before, and the death was the easy part. The hard part came after. Because while she was burying him, she found out he had been cheating for years. The other woman had given birth to 2 boys. Then the other woman died too. Different accident, same week. So now there were 2 infants with no mother and no father. And there was the OP's ex-mother-in-law who decided the right move was to sue for custody of the daughters who were still alive. The first lawsuit was already in court. The second part, where the in-laws wanted to move into the house, that was never going to happen. The OP was a single mom, dealing with 2 teenagers in active grief. Her oldest had been the one who actually found out about the affair. The girl had used her dad's old laptop for a school project, and the email tabs were still open. Both girls had told their mom. Both girls were already in therapy trying to process the fact that their dad had a whole other family, a whole other life, 2 whole other children. And then one Saturday morning, everything got worse. So one Saturday morning, the youngest daughter turned 15. The big party was scheduled for later in the month, but the OP wanted her to have a moment that day, just the 2 of them. There was a weekend farmer's market in town. Fresh produce, eggs, meats, hand-rolled candy. The kind of place that smells like apples in October and cinnamon in December. The OP gave her daughter a budget and let her loose. Pick whatever you want. Mostly chocolate. Mostly sweets. Take an hour. Have fun. Be a kid for once. An hour passes in slow, quiet minutes. The OP starts to get a little worried. She picks up her phone to call. And right at that moment, her daughter calls her, sobbing. Some weird older women have cornered her in the market. The OP grabs her oldest daughter and runs. She finds 6 women in their 60s and 70s. They have her 15-year-old surrounded. They are berating her for being unchristian, for refusing to spend time with her grandparents, for not wanting to be a good big sister to her poor orphan baby brothers. The OP recognizes some of them. They go to the same church the in-laws attend. She steps between them and her daughter. She tells her oldest to take her sister to the car right now. Then she turns and gives those 6 women a piece of her mind. She is louder than she has ever been in public. They tell her she's worse than her cheating dead ex. They tell her she's failing her duty as a Christian wife. They quote scripture at her. They quote it wrong. The market manager comes over and asks all of them to leave. The women follow her to the parking lot like a flock of vultures. One of them spits on the hood of her car. That night, after the girls are in bed, the OP gets online. She messages a friend who still goes to that church. He apologizes immediately. Then he tells her what's been happening behind her back for the last 2 months. The ex-mother-in-law has been writing long, weepy posts in the church Facebook group. Posts about how her cruel daughter-in-law and her cruel grandchildren have left her homeless and penniless. About how the OP's daughters won't even talk to her. About how she's lost her grandsons to distant relatives, and it's all the OP's fault. And here's the twisted genius part. The mother-in-law had to explain those 2 affair babies somehow, so she made up a story. She told the church the other woman had been a surrogate, that the OP couldn't have any more children, that the OP rejected the babies because they were boys. The whole congregation was now sympathetic to the in-laws and convinced the OP was a monster. This church had one specific weakness. They were extremely strict about cheating. Husbands cheating, wives cheating, didn't matter. It was the unforgivable sin. So the OP went to her file cabinet. She had been mid-divorce when her ex died, which meant she had every text, every photo, every email, every screenshot of the in-laws covering for their son. 3 file boxes worth of paper. She drove to a print shop. She paid extra for high-quality glossy paper. She made what she later called personalized prayer binders. They looked exactly like the little hymn packets the church handed out at every service. Same size, same cover, same font, same little gold cross on the front. Inside each binder were the photos. The text messages between her ex and his affair partner. 3 years of them. Emails of the in-laws encouraging the affair. Voicemails transcribed and printed. Photos of her ex with the side girl at restaurants the in-laws had paid for. And the worst one, a message from her in-laws to her 2 daughters 2 days after their dad died, calling them bastards. Telling them his death was their fault for telling their mom about the cheating. Telling 2 grieving teenagers that their father's heart attack was on them. The first photo when you open the binder was her ex and his side girl making out on the OP's living room couch. Underneath, in elegant script, she'd written their full names and the words "love story." She drove to the church that Sunday before service. There's a back desk where the regular hymn books and prayer binders sit, free for anyone to grab. Nobody ever checks them. She slid her binders into the stack. She walked out. She drove home and made coffee. By that afternoon, the church Facebook group had detonated. The pastor himself had to step in to keep the language PG-13. The same congregation that had been hugging her ex-mother-in-law that morning was now turning on her. The deacons posted statements. 2 of the original 6 women who had cornered the daughter at the market posted public apologies. People were furious about the harassment of 2 grieving teenagers. People were furious about the surrogate lie. People were furious about the affair. The OP got 2 written apology letters in her mailbox by Wednesday. She got an invitation to come worship. She got a casserole on her porch from a stranger. She declined all of it. As for the in-laws, they got shamed out of the church. The pastor met with them in private. The board of deacons asked them to step away from the volunteer schedule. Within 10 days, they had stopped going entirely. The mother-in-law posted one final dramatic message on her Facebook wall about how alienated she felt, about how nobody cares for the elderly anymore, about how if her great son were still alive, he would have taken care of her. With what money, the OP wondered. The dead son had a part-time consulting gig and a gambling habit. The OP had been the breadwinner of that family for 16 years. She had paid off the in-laws' second mortgage in 2015 because nobody else would. The custody case is still in court. The OP says her lawyer says she'll win. And she still has more binders printed and ready in case anyone needs a reminder. But that revenge was nothing compared to what came next, because the next storyteller wasn't dealing with church gossip. He was dealing with a wife who had been lying to his face for 2 years. Our second story comes from a man who learned early that liars get sloppy with details. It was the early 2000s. Bush was president. Flip phones, frosted tips, Yahoo email. He was married. 2 young kids, 4 and 6 years old, and his wife had started doing something strange. The kids kept mentioning long days at Grandma's house, which would have been fine, except Grandma lived 90 minutes away, each direction, and the kids were spending 3 days a week there. On the days the wife wasn't at her part-time job, the math wasn't working. He noticed before she did. He asked her about it casually one Tuesday at dinner. She denied it. She had never been a good liar. So he started writing down the mileage on her car in a tiny notebook. Every morning before work. Every evening when she got home. Within 2 weeks he had his proof. She was driving an extra 400 miles a week. Something was happening, and it wasn't shopping. Then one morning, she made the mistake. She had left a sticky note on the desk next to the family computer. AOL password, right there. He sat down, he logged in, and he found a long email chain between his wife and her college best friend. The wife was sleeping with a high school ex-boyfriend. They met up 2 or 3 times a week. The wife also took the time to make fun of the man's wife in those emails for getting fat after having kids. The OP printed every single email. He stashed them. He still didn't have everything. He still didn't know where they met or what they did. So he called a cop friend from college who recommended a private investigator named Ron. Ron had been a detective for 20 years before going private. He took the retainer in cash. He took the email printouts. He took 2 photos of the wife from a family album, and he went to work. 2 weeks later, Ron handed him a report. 22 pages. Photos, times, dates, locations. The wife would drop the kids at Grandma's at 10 in the morning. She'd meet the high school ex for lunch at a diner halfway between their homes. They'd drive in separate cars to a cheap motel a few miles from the diner. They'd be there for 3 hours. Then she'd pick up the kids at 5 and come home by 6:30 like nothing happened. She'd bring takeout. She'd ask about the OP's day. She'd kiss him on the cheek. The OP hired a divorce lawyer. He had grown up watching his own parents tear each other apart over an affair. He knew what it did to children. He was not negotiating. Then he asked Ron one more favor. Find out everything you can about the boyfriend. Ron came back 2 days later. The boyfriend's name was Bob. Bob was married. Bob had 3 kids, and Bob worked as the vice president of sales for a company owned by his father-in-law. You can probably see where this is going. The OP had his lawyer draw up the divorce papers. He coordinated the timing down to the hour. On the morning his wife was served at her work, Ron knocked on the front door of Bob's house. Bob's wife answered in her bathrobe. Ron handed her the same report. Photos, dates, times, motel receipts. Then Ron walked away. He didn't say a word. What the OP found out later from public court records was that Bob's wife did not waste time. She emptied the joint checking account before lunch. She picked up the kids from school. She drove to her parents' house and stayed there. By that evening, Bob's father-in-law knew. By the next morning, Bob was fired. By the next week, Bob was evicted because the house Bob lived in was actually owned by his in-laws. Bob tried to talk his way back in. He showed up at the house. He started screaming at his wife in the front yard at 8 in the evening. The neighbors heard. 2 of them stepped outside to watch. His wife's brother came outside too. He had played college football. The brother broke Bob's nose right there on the lawn. One clean punch. The neighbors called the cops. Bob spent that night in jail. He left the next morning in the same shirt with dried blood on it. The divorce that followed got ugly. Restraining orders, multiple police reports, criminal charges, a short jail stint, a custody fight that Bob's wife won handily because Bob had no income, no home, and a fresh assault charge on his record. The OP didn't watch any of it. He stayed home with his kids and let it happen. He took them to the park. He read them bedtime stories. He kept the routine. The wife had her settlement quietly negotiated, and her lawyer kept his number. She remarried within 5 years to a man she met at her gym. Bob, the OP cannot find Bob anywhere on the internet today. No social media, no professional listing. He has been erased. Bob's ex-wife took over her father's company when he retired. She runs it now. The company has tripled in revenue under her watch. The OP says he doesn't hate his ex-wife. She's still his kid's mom, and the kids love her, so he's not going to torch that bridge. But he doesn't speak to her unless it's about the children. He hasn't for 15 years. The kids are in their 20s now. They have no idea any of this happened. He says he plans to never tell them. That last sentence is the thing that sticks with me, because the man could have humiliated his wife in front of their friends, in front of her parents, in front of their entire neighborhood. He could have made her the villain of every dinner party for the next decade. He didn't. He just made sure the right one person knew, and he let karma handle the rest. But that was a story about a husband. The next one is about a brother, and it might be the meanest one of the night. It also involves an actress, an engagement ring, and a father-daughter dance. Our third storyteller is 35. He has a younger brother named, let's call him Todd, who is 29. Todd had a complicated birth. He spent his first month in the ICU. The OP's parents almost lost him, and ever since, Todd has been the golden child. He gets every birthday, every special dinner. Every win the family has ever had has somehow been about Todd. There's a sister too. Her name doesn't matter much in this story because nobody in this family's name ever mattered much except Todd's. Todd loves the spotlight, and not in a cute way. Over the years, Todd has done what the OP calls main character moves. Cousin's graduation, Todd announces a job promotion at the dinner. Sister's baby shower, Todd's girlfriend Lucy stands up and announces her own pregnancy. The OP and his sister have spent 20 years watching Todd hijack moments that weren't his. Then the OP got engaged to a woman named Michelle. They had been together 5 years. She was a kindergarten teacher. He wanted to elope. He suggested Hawaii. He suggested a courthouse. He suggested a friend's backyard. Michelle wanted her family there. She wanted her dad to walk her down the aisle. She wanted the dance with her father. So he agreed, and he reluctantly invited Todd. He had a gut feeling the whole time. He told Michelle about it the night they sent the save the dates. He told his best man Jim about it the next weekend over beers. And Jim, who had known the family for 15 years, said keep an eye on him. 3 weeks before the wedding, the bachelor party. Jim is loading bags into a car at a Lake Tahoe rental. Todd's wallet is on the back seat. A receipt slides out and lands on the floor mat. Jim picks it up and looks at it. It's from a jewelry store. And the line item, in faded ink, says engagement ring. Jim grabs the receipt. He confronts Todd in the parking lot, away from the other groomsmen. Todd panics. Todd denies. Todd says it's for an anniversary. Jim doesn't believe him. Jim brings the receipt to the OP that night. The OP confronts Todd directly. He tells Todd he is no longer a groomsman. He tells Todd, "You are not proposing at my wedding." Todd cries to the parents. The parents call the OP. The parents say their younger brother is being unfairly judged. The OP lays it out. 20 years of hijacked moments. The graduation, the baby shower, the cousin's birthday dinner. Even the parents have to sit there and admit it's a pattern. They lean on Todd. Todd promises he will not propose at the wedding. The OP doesn't believe him for a second, so he calls Jim. They make a plan. Wedding day, beautiful afternoon, outdoor venue in the wine country, the first dance, the toasts, the cake. Then Michelle's father-daughter dance starts. It's her favorite song, the one her dad used to sing to her in the car when she was 6 years old. She has been waiting for this her entire life. Halfway through the dance, Todd stands up at his table. He walks across the dance floor to Lucy. He drops to one knee, loud enough that the band stops playing, loud enough that the photographer turns around, loud enough that Michelle's father steps off the dance floor in confusion. Todd has hijacked his own brother's wedding. Lucy is crying. The room is clapping out of pure social reflex. Michelle is staring at her dad with tears running down her face. The OP looks across the room. Todd sees him. Todd grins. Cue the revenge. The OP and Jim had hired an actress. She had been waiting in the parking lot in a black dress, sipping water in her car, watching the live stream of the wedding from her phone. The second Todd proposed, the OP texted her. Now, she walked into the venue with mascara streaks down her cheeks. She wore a tasteful black cocktail dress. She walked across the dance floor in front of every guest. She walked up to Todd and Lucy. She sobbed, and she said the words loud enough for the back row to hear. "Sure, I'm pregnant. It's yours. I've been trying to call you for a month." Todd's mouth opened. He started shaking his head. He said he didn't know who this woman was. He said it 3 times in a row. The crowd had gone silent, and right then, his phone buzzed in his pocket. Because the OP had spent the last week swapping Todd's contacts on his phone, adding fake text threads from a saved number and giving that exact number to the actress. Todd pulled out the phone in front of Lucy. There were 6 months of messages with this woman. Photos, hotel receipts, the works. Lucy threw the engagement ring on the floor. She walked out of the wedding without a coat. The OP and Michelle had their first dance. The cake was beautiful. Lucy has not spoken to Todd in 2 months. She has thrown all of his belongings out of her apartment into garbage bags on the curb. She has changed the locks. She has changed her phone number. She has blocked him on every app. Lucy is denying him access to their daughter, who is 2 years old, until Todd takes a paternity test for the ghost child that doesn't exist. The test will be normal because no such child exists. But by the time the test comes back, Lucy will already be dating someone new. Todd is sleeping in his parents' basement. He has gained weight. He has stopped going to work consistently. Todd is calling the OP every day. Todd is texting the OP every day. Todd is sending paragraphs. The OP has not picked up. The OP has only sent one message. It was a screenshot of the wedding bill, with a vague request for reimbursement of half. The OP says even his sister now thinks he went too far. He says he sleeps fine. But this last one might be the most patient revenge you'll ever hear. It took her almost a year to play out. It cost the woman exactly $8.50 to pull off. And it ended with the man losing every single thing he had stolen from her. Our fourth storyteller is a woman who started dating a guy in college. She was 22. He was 26. He was great for the first 6 months. Dedicated, funny, showed up on time, worked hard, paid for things. He even cooked. And then, the way some men do, he just turned the engine off. He stopped going to class. He stopped going to work. He got fired from his job. He sat on the couch playing Xbox 16 hours a day. He didn't do dishes. He didn't do laundry. He didn't pay bills. He didn't shower most days. The apartment started to smell. She picked up extra shifts, double shifts, triple shifts, while studying for finals, while watching him level up his video game characters in the apartment she paid for. She lost 10 pounds. She lost most of her friends. She told herself it was exam stress. She told herself he would snap out of it. She gave him another 6 months, then another 6. Her grades dropped a full letter. Her family started asking questions. Then she came home early one Tuesday afternoon and caught him cheating. Side girl on the couch. Side girl in her favorite sweater. The cashmere one her grandmother had given her for her 21st birthday. She threw him out that night. She didn't sleep. She lay in bed and ran the math on the last 2 years. The shifts she had picked up, the classes she had skipped to cover his rent, the food she had stopped buying because she couldn't afford it. And the next morning, before she had even brushed her teeth, she remembered the joint savings account. There was about 5 grand in there, about 4.5 grand of which was hers. She logged into the account on her old laptop. The balance was 0. He had cleaned it out the day before. The same morning she had texted him she wasn't coming home for lunch. She called the bank. The bank said he was a joint account holder. Nothing illegal had happened. She called the police. The officer was patient with her. He said it was a civil matter. Take it to small claims, he said. But honestly, you'll spend more in legal fees than you'll get back. His advice was to walk away. Then she made the mistake of looking at his social media. New apartment, new flat screen, new game console, new gaming PC, all bought with her savings. And he was bragging about it in the chat forums he used to live on, where she had quietly read his posts for years. Now, here's the detail that changed everything. The previous summer, she had worked a temp job at a debt collection agency. Crappy work. Decent pay, $18 an hour, no benefits. She'd taken the job because her tuition deadline was coming up. And during that summer, she had learned a few things about how debts work in the U.S. The kind of things they don't teach you in school. The kind of things only the people working the phones at a collections office actually understand. Specifically, she'd learned about a thing called the statute of limitations. In most states, when you don't pay a debt, the creditor has a window, usually about 6 years. After that window, the debt becomes time-barred. The debt still technically exists, but the collector can no longer sue you for it. They can't garnish wages. They can't get a judgment. The debt is stuck, but there's a trick. If you make a single payment, even 1 cent, the clock resets. From 0. 6 more years. Her ex was a proud debt dodger. He had 3 credit card debts that had been sitting frozen for almost 6 years. He was 3 months from the finish line. He had bragged about it for as long as she had known him. He had told her, "My generation invented walking away from debt." He had no idea what was about to happen. She still had every piece of paper from those debts in her file cabinet because she had been the one organizing his life for 2 years. She had the account numbers. She had the original creditor names. She had the dates of last activity. She picked up the phone on a Wednesday afternoon. She called the first creditor from the burner number she used for customer service calls. She said, "I'm a friend. I'd like to make a payment on his behalf." She paid $1. The creditor took the payment. The clock reset. She called the second creditor. $1. Reset. She called the third. Minimum payment was $1.50. Reset. She called 3 more just to be thorough. $8.50 total. 5 debts. Every single clock reset. Every single creditor was now legally allowed to come after him for 6 more years. And while she had them on the phone, she gave them his new apartment address and his parents' address, so they would know exactly where to send the lawsuits. Then she waited. 3 months. 4 months. She watched him post photos of his new entertainment setup on the forums. She watched his side girl move in and post selfies on a brand new sectional couch. She watched them go on a beach trip funded by her old paychecks. She drank her morning coffee. She finished her semester. She got an internship that turned into a job offer. And every couple of weeks she logged into the forums and read about his slow downward progress. Then it happened. One of his forum posts changed tone. Suddenly, panic. He had a court date. A debt he thought was dead had risen from the grave. He posted in the same forum where his gaming buddies hung out. He titled the thread, "What Do I Do?" And one of them, a guy who claimed to be a paralegal, gave him advice. Don't show up. They can't prosecute without you. He used the word prosecute even though it was civil court. He had no idea what he was talking about. It was the worst legal advice you can possibly give. In civil court, not showing up means the judge rules against you automatically. The OP's ex didn't bother to verify. He took the advice. He stayed home that day and played video games. He didn't show up. The default judgment came down on the first lawsuit a week later. 2 weeks after that, the bailiffs arrived at 6 in the morning. They knocked. They had a court order. They came in. They cleaned out his apartment. The flat screen, the gaming PC, the console, the new sectional couch, the espresso machine, the bookshelf speakers, the smart thermostat, every shiny new thing he had bought with her savings. Gone. Hauled away in a Ryder truck while his side girl stood in her bathrobe and cried. Then the second lawsuit came in. Then the third. And then his credit got demolished. His credit score sank 140 points in 8 weeks. He couldn't get a new apartment lease. He couldn't get a credit card. He couldn't even get a regular checking account anymore. He had to use one of those secured cards with a $500 deposit. Then his side girl, the one who had moved in for the lifestyle, looked around at the empty apartment and the maxed out cards. She lasted 3 more weeks. Then she packed her 2 suitcases at 4 in the afternoon. She called an Uber, and she left him. The OP heard about it from a mutual friend who saw the side girl posting from a new boyfriend's apartment by the following weekend. The OP says she never got her $5,000 back, but she also says it was the best $850 she has ever spent in her entire life. She runs into him every couple of years. He works retail now. He's still rebuilding his credit a decade later. He drives a 15-year-old sedan. He lives in a studio apartment above a hair salon. He has never figured out why all those debts woke up at the same time. He has theories. He blames the economy. He blames a vindictive collections agency. He blames the U.S. financial system. He has never blamed her because as far as he knows, she had no idea any of it happened. And she has never told him. She probably never will. So that's tonight. 4 people who were quiet about their anger. 4 people who took their time. 4 targets who never saw the trap until they were already inside of it. 4 villains who genuinely believed right up until the last possible second that they had won. And 4 narrators who walked away with their dignity intact and their consciences clear. Here's the part nobody on the channel ever really talks about. Revenge isn't actually about hurting the other person. The other person was always going to fail. The cheating mill was always going to alienate her church. The cheating wife was always going to lose Bob. The brother was always going to push the family one step too far. The boyfriend was always going to crash. The narrators didn't change anyone's destiny. They just sped up the timeline, and they made sure that when the consequences arrived, nobody could pretend they didn't deserve them. Maybe the lesson isn't about revenge at all. Maybe it's about not forgetting, about refusing to let someone hurt you, walk away and live the rest of their life like it never happened, about making sure the record is clean. The receipts are saved. The screenshots are dated. The truth is documented. And when the moment is right, you don't have to do anything cruel. You don't have to scream. You don't have to break anything. You don't have to chase anyone. You just have to hand the universe the file. And then you go make yourself a cup of coffee and let the rest happen on its own. Thanks for watching Ruthless Retribution. If this story was worth your time, drop a like and hit subscribe. It genuinely helps us grow. See you in the next one.